Ohio. We're high on Ohio. These stories inform and inspire through the words of people who make Ohio home. Good news and good ideas, identifying and acknowledging the excellence that is all around us. So how would you fix, and I'm going to use quotes around the word fix, how would you make Ohioans more comfortable in having a debate, over the whole state about some of these very divisive issues and be able to come to a better consensus, if you will? Not compromise, but be able to understand how the other person's thinking about stuff. How do you see this working out? Is it going to get worse? Will it get better? And how will we get there?
I think it can get better. I think part of it is power for power's sake, and people, fixating on a single issue or a single politician, as opposed to looking at the world more globally, and dealing with it more globally. I had the single worst experience of my life in December. It was actually here in town, in Columbus, and it was after Newtown. And I was asked to be on a panel that Channel 6 did that was going to go out nationally on all of their network stations. And it was about gun control. And the NRA was there, and the concealed weapons folks were there, and Toby Hoover from the Coalition Against Gun Violence was there, and a lady from NAMI, which does a lot of mental illness issues.
The National Association
of Mental Illness, I think. And so we were on this panel, and some of the rabid pro-NRA folks were so out of control. They were yelling and screaming things, standing up whenever I would speak or whenever Toby Hoover would speak, disrespectful. Toby got involved because her husband had been murdered years before. One guy stands up and starts yelling and screaming, well, why is that? Was he on crack? I mean, this was a horrible tragedy in her life. And for me, that just crystallized the fact that we have become this culture of MSNBC and Fox where we can't have a conversation. And yes, maybe somebody wins and somebody loses, but this isn't a sport. Her husband died.
Yeah.
And we can try to deal with things in a different way. I think there are answers when it comes to things like guns. Not all of the things that I would agree with. But I think that, it doesn't make sense for people in urban areas to have people running around with concealed weapons and guns everywhere. It's a danger to them. And public opinion is different in other parts of the state that might be more rural. But we've gotten rid of the ability of local people to make decisions for themselves in the state. And we have not actually designed a government that fits the fact that Ohio is so diverse. It's rural, it's Appalachian, it's got, farming and German Catholics on the west side. It's, I have the honor of traveling this state, and it's very different. But we don't have a government that acknowledges that. And I think that's part of the frustration that bubbles some of these conflicts up.
You're optimistic. Basically, the question is, are you high on Ohio long term?
I am high on Ohio. I have always been high on Ohio. Let me tell you something, Gene. I have written this, and I've actually started speeches with this, but I owe so much to this state. I have 4 generations of my family that go back, some great-grandparents, some grandparents that came here. 3 of them came from foreign countries. They had to move around because we were Jewish and never really could settle. I've had some of them died in the Holocaust, but my grandfather got here. 4th generation of my family came here from Mississippi Jews, believe it or not. And
You've lost your accent, I've
noticed. Yeah, I've lost the accent over the years.
Yeah.
But, they found freedom from oppression, and they found freedom of religion, and they found freedom of speech. And, I'm able to say things that the governor doesn't like, and the governor can lash out and call me names, but I'm not in jail. My family found that in Ohio. And I can't say enough about why I'm high on Ohio, because, there are areas of our own country where we wouldn't have had that freedom. Now, maybe over time that's happened in the South, and maybe over time things have changed in different areas, but this state gave my family that ability. And quite frankly, I have a family that's pretty diverse on different sides. I have Republicans in my family. I have one cousin that, through marriage, that actually worked for the Republican Speaker as their finance director in the House years ago in the 70s.
So what are Thanksgivings like?
Well, we always have good conversations. Because everybody knows what I do, I'm a lightning rod on the left or the right when people come to me and want, conversation.
But, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
I could appreciate it.
But I do have a diverse family when it comes to their politics, and I've never, held anyone, I think that's kind of an interesting kind of thing. And part of my family is Christian in Ohio over time, and part of it's still Jewish, part of it's Democratic, part of it's Republican. Believe it or not, my great uncle, I'm very proud of this, was the Corrections Commissioner of the state of Ohio from the 1930s through 1969, or equivalents.
Okay.
So there was a history here in town of my family on my mother's side being active in state government. Back then it was an appointed position, it wasn't a cabinet position.
I have multitude of second cousins once removed who are African American.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, you hang around the state long enough, you're going to end up becoming related to everybody. But it also kind of proves the fact that we don't have enough new blood moving in at the same time, and so we all seem to be here.